Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Attila Sensi Molnar, and I'd like to share with you the final results of my master's thesis in game design at Full Sail University. Briefly, before we get into it, just a quick introduction to myself. I'm currently working as a designer and producer with over 5 years games industry experience and 3 years in film and commercial industries as a production designer. During my career, I've worked on several casual mobile titles, some of them you can see here, which can be played on Facebook Messenger, web, and also the iOS and Android app stores. Right now, I work on Bubble Witch 3 Saga at King. The ultimate goal of my master's thesis is to deliver a literature systemic review article publishable by industry news outlets such as Kotaku and Gamasutra. The reason for this initial group is because these platforms provide visibility to professional audiences while also maintaining relevancy and value to accessibility advocacy overall. My thesis topic is accessibility heuristics and evaluation criteria for mobile games. What do I mean by some of these terms? Well, by accessibility, I mean the quality of a mobile game that makes it easy to use, easy to understand, and also its ability to broaden its reach for its target audience. Heuristics are tools, processes, or methods for enabling someone, like a game developer or a designer, to discover and learn something for themselves, hopefully in an effort to improve something about their game. Evaluation criteria are standards and principles used to assess games or aspects of games in their effectiveness or value for a given metric. In a nutshell, the high-level goal of the thesis work is to introduce the literature, clearly consolidate a set of accessibility heuristics and evaluation criteria for mobile games, while also presenting potential next steps for mobile game developers to take in and make their games more accessible. Now for a bit of context and word on the impact of this research. So according to Newzoo's 2021 Global Games Market Report, the mobile games segment still contributes the most to the overall games market, with a nearly 4.5% year-over-year growth at a $90.7 billion revenue. It is also expected to continue growing in the next 5 years. In terms of users, Newzoo's Global Mobile Market Report states that there are more than 3.5 billion users of smartphone devices, and it has increased over more than 6% year over year. Now, breaking this value down for players with disabilities or various situational impairments like in the middle-aged or elderly populations, here's a potential impact. We see from the 2008 PopCap survey, which included about 13,000 casual game players, over 20% of their respondents identified themselves as having either mild, moderate, or severe disabilities or impairments. Additionally, from the Global Web Index Q3 2018 report, which included about 44,000 players, mobile-only players between the age of 37 and 64 make up 42% of the overall demographic. And it is in this audience, particularly the baby boomer generation, where certain situational impairments begin to occur. And this is what I would like to assist with improving with this thesis research, because the bottom line is that improving accessibility of mobile games could significantly impact the industry and enrich the lives of many players with disabilities and various impairments at the same time, ultimately. But for that, we need developers and business intelligence to be aware, but not only to be aware, but to also have the tools to directly implement solutions. So there were four key sources used to craft the list of mobile game accessibility guidelines in this paper. We have a lot of contemporary movement coming from the web, particularly the World Wide Web Consortium. These guidelines are more or less industry standard and are used by governments in crafting anti-discrimination laws around allowing greater access to users with disabilities. They are sectioned into 4 areas of perceptibility, operability, understandability, and robustness. And each of these categories I've selected that are relevant for the mobile platform, as you can see here. Second, we also have the Access and Challenge design patterns developed by the Able Gamers Charity, an organization founded by Mark Barlett and a group of passionate and constructive players with various disabilities. These guidelines are extremely useful and become more and more utilized by AAA companies to develop effective and accessible content. I've also selected from these patterns those applicable for the mobile platform. Third, there's also the Game Accessibility Guidelines, which was developed by a handful of studios, specialists, and academics to produce a straightforward, developer-friendly reference for ways to avoid unnecessarily excluding players and ensure that games are just as fun for a wide range of people as possible. They also have categories, 6 categories, and I've selected the most relevant ones from the Game Accessibility Guidelines into the Mobile Accessibility Guidelines list. And then fourth and finally, we have the Mobile Game Design Guide, which was developed by the Advanced Institute of Science and Technology in Korea. And this is a improving the game experience study for the middle-aged and elderly population. And it's a user-centered approach. They have some very interesting learnings, particularly about monetization and advertisements. So yeah, in summary, this work will encapsulate 33 total guidelines specifically for mobile games, based off of 4 core industrial standard resources, all well researched into one package for you as developers to utilize in the making or maintaining of your mobile games into the future. And finally, the research will include findings from 3 assessments of mobile games for people with visual, hearing, and cognitive impairments, an evaluation study of the top 25 grossing mobile apps using accessibility guidelines such as the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and further research regarding analysis and prioritization of usability issues based on severity. With all these resources, I've compiled a list of step-by-step actions to guide developers looking to make an initiative in improving accessibility of their games. These are my references for the presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. I wish you a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out here on my LinkedIn or on my email. Have a wonderful day. Take care.